Good morning from Vancouver. We're going to talk this morning about writing XML with FME. My name is Don Murray, and I'm here this morning with the two developers of XML who are on standby to answer questions, Juan and Joel. And also, we have our special product specialist from where are you, Dean? You're in Bulgaria.
Snowy Sofia, where they've gone to a lot of trouble to make me feel at home like the Canadian winter here.
Yeah, that's right. That's good. That's good. So, so the first thing we want to mention is that stay tuned. If any of you are interested in an FME and writing XML training course, we have one of those. It's a half-day course, and there'll be 40 free seats up for grabs on that. So, okay. So. The only other thing to mention is this is part 2 of a 3-part trilogy. Okay, why didn't that update? Can you see my? Uh-oh, we have issues already. My slide didn't update. So what's going on? Did you guys see it advance? Okay, so it must be that. Okay, sorry, folks. Okay, so we'll get back going here, slideshow from current slide. So hopefully you guys see this is part 3 of part 2 of 3. Okay, there it goes. Whew. Okay, so it was just slow for some reason. Anyway, this is part 2 of a 3-part trilogy. We did the last one last week. It was reading XML with FME, and the movie's up on our webinar site there, wsafe.com/learning/webinars. And when you get this slide deck, you're going to notice that there's yellow links throughout it. If you click on those links, you're going to go to either movies or demos and things like that. So whenever we have a demo, there's also a movie of that demo. So if you want to watch it later, or if you download the slide deck and give it to people or want to reference it later, it's actually a reference deck. Okay. So we're going to start the morning here. I'm getting you to do a bit of work. We're going to ask you a couple of poll questions. So Joel here is going to launch the first poll, and it's what XML challenges are you faced with? So can you see the poll? Okay, so Juan sees the poll. Yeah, okay, the poll's open. People are voting. Good. That one's a problem. Okay, and so far we have 68%. So writing looks like the majority for this group, which is a good thing. Yeah, updating. We're going to talk about some updating as well. And the example we're going to do later is all around metadata. Okay, so we're going to close this poll now. And now we will share the results with you. Okay, so you should see the results come up. What XML challenges are you currently faced with? And you can see it's a pretty even split, really. I mean, 42% of you are interested in updating, so almost half, and then almost all of you are reading and writing. So that's great. So we're going to move on now to poll number 2, and this one is more around what tools and languages do you currently have experience in. So we'll launch that poll. And the choices are XQuery, XSLT, XSDs, XML Spy, or JavaScript. Okay, so.
And Don, you can vote for more than one, I guess.
You can vote for, okay, yes, you can vote for more than one. Thanks, Dean. Yeah. Of course, here what we're going to focus on is all the things you can do with XML, not having to use any of these tools. But what we've done is we have a 2-part strategy, which we'll talk about later. Okay, so we'll give it another 10 seconds here, and then we'll close the poll. Okay, and then we'll share the results. So there we go. We're going to close the poll and share the results. And there you go. You can see that JavaScript is by far the most, followed by XML Spy, and then 20% of you know XQuery, XSLT, or XSDs. Okay, so great. So now we're done with that. So we'll hide the results, and we'll get started here. Okay, So just the agenda here. So we're going to just talk very quickly about safe strategy with XML. Just on one slide. Then we're going to talk about, we're going to show how to write arbitrary XML and GML documents. We'll do three quick demos there. Then we'll talk about how to write metadata documents, XML documents. If you don't have a sample, you only have schema. And then how to update XML documents using the new XML updater. And that's, we're going to have a metadata example there. And last but not least is writing heavily nested XML documents. And there you go. So we're going to have a number of demos. The first thing to remember is, if you're not familiar with FME, is it's all about powering the flow of spatial data. Doesn't matter what kind of data you have. If you need to move it from one place to another, restructure it, reformat it, that's what FME is all about. And you can see one of the bubbles in the bottom left there is XML. So it doesn't matter what kind of XML you're working with, we can read it or write it. Okay. And so the whole theme of these webinars is let your XML love shine. And then we had a special Valentine's Day blog article. So if you go to our blog, you'll see a special Valentine's Day XML blog writing there. And these series of webinars are going to talk about the readers, how to read it and write, and many of the transformers we're going to talk about. And with XML and GML in 2012, you'll be singing like we do in the office often. And we still have open the XML challenge. So if you have any XML or GML documents that you would like us to take a look at because you're having trouble with them, please send them our way. They really help us identify new scenarios and new things to add to our product to make it better for FME 2013. Okay. So,
Don, that could be for both reading and writing XML either?
Yeah, and updating too. Anything related. Yeah. And of course, FME 2012, one of the big stories of FME 2012 was how much easier we made XML to work with. Our strategy at SAFE, however, is twofold. One is to make it, if you do know some of the other tools like XSLT, XQuery, etc., you can use those to help you do your job. Okay, but what we're really sweet, but we don't want to make those a requirement for you to work with XML. So we're working hard so that you don't have to understand or be familiar with those tools in order to use XML. Okay, and so we have an XML. We have a number of transformers. We're going to show you those a little later. And what they do is they enable you to work with XML also as well as leverage tools like XSLT and XQuery. Okay, so this morning we're going to focus on how to make it easy so that if you get XML documents, you can look at them and easily produce them and things like that. Okay, so we're going to get going here. As we talked about last week, XML is only becoming more important. It's used for Inspire. It's used for sensors. It's used for a lot of different technologies. Okay, and one other thing to remember is that GML is simply XML. So everything we do to improve XML also improves our GML support. And then we also do things that are GML specific. Okay. So in FME 2012, our writing is much better. In 2011, we really took reading to a whole new level. And with FME 2012, we've really taken our writing to a new level. And we're going to get into some demos here very quickly to show you that. Okay, so it's all about making it easy. Okay, so this first demo we're going to do is, what if you have a requirement just to write XML? Somebody says, okay, I want this data in XML, and that's it for the requirement. And there are organizations out there that might have a table, and they might just need to dump it out to XML. So that's going to be the first demo we're going to do in a minute here. Obviously, there's a number of the formats we're going to use, and we're going to use a number of formats in the demos. We're going to use the XML writer, we're going to use the GML writer, and we're going to use everybody's favorite writer, which is the text line writer. Sorry, Dean?
Yeah, I was just going to point out that before you go ahead and start trying to write out to a format in XML, you might want to check to make sure to see if we don't have native support for it. Obviously, some of these are more complex than others, and so you wouldn't really want to try City GML from scratch, because it's fairly advanced formats. So these formats, basically we support them out of the box, and you don't have to structure the data or build templates to drive them.
Right. But some of them, as Dean mentioned, have very strict data requirements. AIXM is one example. To write AIXM, you have to have all the data necessary to populate it, obviously, and all the cross-references and things like that. And that's really where the that's really where the transformation capabilities of FME are critical when you're trying to write any of these. And later we're going to show how to write some Inspire data. So anyway, okay. Are easy to write. So here we go. Okay, so the first demo is writing arbitrary XML. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is, okay, I have my file here. So I'm going to minimize this here. Okay, get rid of that for now. And I have some very simple demos here on writing. The first one is writing arbitrary XML. And in this case, what I have is I just have a couple of tables in map info mid, but they could be in anything. And I'm going to first go to XML, and obviously I'll get all the attribution across. And it's as simple as this. Okay, so there you go. I'm just going to use the bare drag and drop, and that is it. Okay.
So Don, your schema is just going to be based on whatever the source schema is in this case.
That's right. And we'll call it arbitrary XML like that. And I'll run it. Okay, that's going to generate it. And we'll see that it is in fact, when I run this, it is in fact XML. Okay, so while that's running, I'm going to go to the output. And you're also going to see that what it did is it wrote the schemas there. So it also generated the schema. If I open this XML document in everybody's favorite XML viewer, i.e., then you'll see that I have two tables in one document. I have floodplains there. Okay. Well, I didn't have two tables, but that's a user problem. So let me do that again. Okay, very simple. Generate workspace. I didn't choose both tables, so that's easy enough. I'll just go like this. Okay, I got excited, and that happens, and sometimes things go wrong. There you go.
At least you're not singing yet.
I'm not. Yeah, that's right. That's for later. Okay, so now I have the two tables, and again I run it, and I go over here. It only takes a second to run, and okay, I refresh. Okay, and I open this with IE, and now you're going to see I have two tables. So I have hydrography line, and I have a floodplain line. It also generates the schema, so if anybody says, oh, can I also have the schema with that, away you go. Okay, so that's the first demo. The second one I'll do is I'm just going to generate GML. There's one thing to note is that XML didn't actually have any geometry in it.
So Don, that XML writer, just to kind of highlight, is basically just used to make flat tables in XML.
Yes, that's right.
There's no really.
So it's going to give me, if I look at the attributes on the output side, the attributes is identical. So you're right. It's just mirroring that table in XML. So sometimes that's useful for just getting some data out. And if you have a table structure that has what you like, then that's probably a good starting point, or maybe
for exchanging data, maybe with some database tool.
That's
we'll read
right.
it.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. So now we'll do it to GML, and you're going to see it's pretty much the same thing, except this time we're going to specify GML. Okay. And the GML has some parameters, so let's go for the latest and greatest GML 3.2.1. Okay, and we'll put this one up here in writing arbitrary GML output there. Okay, and did I pick both tables? No, I didn't. So we'll do that.
Is this going to inherit the coordinate system, I guess, from the source?
Absolutely, great point. Yeah, it's just going to, the coordinate system of the GML files will be tagged, and it'll just be whatever was in the source file. Okay, so I run this, and now I have GML. And if I go there, again, it doesn't take long. Okay, writing XML, writing arbitrary GML, output. You'll see that, again, I have the schema. Now this time though I'm going to open it with the FME Universal Viewer because this GML of course has geometry, okay, and it notices as GML. So I click on it, it opens up, and you can see the geometry there, and you can see the attribution, tips, and community, and if I click on a line, you'll see the stream class is intermittent, it's hydrography. So you can see that again, what it did is it just mirrored that, in this case, spatial table in XML, and gave you the in GML and gave you the schema as well. Okay.
So these are basically flat GML tables with geometry now.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So a third approach that I'm going to do is, okay, I'm going to, in this case, I'm going to open a CSV file that has manhole information, and I'm going to create my own manhole document. Okay. So I didn't want to do it that, just another way. And the way I'm going to do it this time is I'm going to use the text file writer because what I'm doing is I'm going to actually build my XML document within my workspace using the XML templater transformer. So we'll call this one.
So that would be the holy grail of our XML tool set at this point, eh? Don?
That's right. It's pretty powerful, absolutely. Okay, so it's a comma separated value file. You'll notice the first line has the fields on it, so I can go like that. And I'm going to say OK. And it's going to, oh, I picked XML. Boy, oh boy, I don't want XML. I want text line. Okay. Okay, one's moving. Maybe you've seen enough already. Okay, so I want text file here. Okay, there we go. And okay, so now, because now what I'm going to drop down, I can see all my attributes there. I'm simply going to drop down a XML updater. Okay, and I'm going to connect on that. Okay, I'm going to connect it to the document right here. Not the updater.
The templater?
Yeah, the templater. XML. I'm
so why are we using the text file writer and not the XML writer? Just to
because I'm going to build the XML within my document. Okay, so here I have this one's very simple. I'm simply going to have a document, and in that document I want multiple subtemplates. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a, because you'll notice, if you notice that CSV file, it actually has multiple records, so it has more than one manhole, otherwise it would be kind of fake. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a one here called manhole, okay, and I'm going to, and then I'll fix up the connections later. You'll notice that when I do this, I'm going to add another connection. And I'm just going to call this manhole like this, okay, slash manhole. So this is, again, showing how easy it is. And then let's have an ID. We won't obviously do all of these because you get the idea. Okay, so we'll add an ID, we'll add a status, okay, and then we'll add owner, okay, like this, owner. And now I can simply drag in values, and FME does it all for me. And you can, by looking at that, you can see what's going on here. What it's going to happen is FME, the templater here, is going to grab those attribute values and simply plunk them in to create a manhole feature. Now at the highest level, though, what I want is I want to call this manholes, okay, like that. And the manholes is made up of, if I collapse the attributes, you'll see I can see the subtemplate is made up of all the stuff that's coming from the manhole subtemplate. So again, FME helps us. I drag this out there, and it's now saying that the manholes XML document here is made up of everything that was in the subtemplate's manhole. Okay, so go like that, and I say we'll call it XML out. Okay. And so now this is the manhole record. So it needs to actually connect to manhole here, not root. Okay, but root is the trigger. Okay, so for every record that goes into root, that's the root document. A new XML template document is going to come out. So if one went into the XML template at the root, one's going to come out. If 5 came in at root, 5 are going to come out. In this case, there's only going to be one. I'm not pulling any of the attributes from it. I'm simply using it as my trigger feature, and then I just need to make sure I connect XML out to this.
So Don, for every feature type, you're going to basically have a subtemplate. Is that how it works?
That's right. That's right. And we'll see that in some later demos for each of the different sub-documents you could, yeah. So if you had it nested 3 levels deep, for example, you're pulling 3 tables together, you would have 3 sub-templates that identify how they're to be put into the XML document. So if I run this now, okay, where did I put the output? It's always good to know. Writing XML, okay, so we'll run this. And now we're going to see that output here, okay, 821, that's now. If I open it again, you're going to see that I have this really simple XML document, manholes, and then there was 2 actual manhole objects, and they were nested underneath, and that is as simple as it gets. Okay, so now back to our slideshow here. Okay, we're that far already. Okay. Okay, so that's the 3 ways of just quickly putting together an XML document. Very, very simple. Okay. So now time for another poll. We're going to do a metadata section in a minute here, but first we thought we'd ask, what metadata challenges are you faced with? Okay, so we'll launch that poll. Do you see the poll there, one? Ah, yeah, he does. Good. Okay.
I noticed you're not asking if you're a fan of metadata.
Right, right. And the options are reading, writing, updating, and I am not interested in metadata. Okay, so about 20% of you are not interested in metadata. Oh, it's dropping. Okay, so we'll go for another few seconds here. And so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, we'll close that poll and we'll share the results. And you can see that it's a pretty even between reading and updating, and writing about 70% of you, and almost none of you are not interested in metadata. So that's good. Okay, so that's what we're going to show you how to do. And the scenario is, imagine you have a sample metadata document, and you want to write metadata that matches this. So maybe within your organization somebody has a sort of a typical metadata document, and you want to be able to write that. And so we're going to show you how to do that. Okay, so that's what we're going to do now. Okay, so writing metadata. Okay, and I won't even tell you my joke. Okay, which is I haven't metadata that I haven't liked. Okay, so here we go, and we're going to open this with this metadata document with Workbench. Okay, and I have another. So but we're going to read it as a text file. Okay, and we're going to use the XML templater again. Okay, so I'm going to read it as a text file. And I'm going to say read the whole file at once, yes, okay, and I'm going to go out to text file, okay, just like before, okay, and I'm also going to read in a CSV file. So FME, of course, can read multiple files at the same time, so I'm going to read a CSV file. And in this case, this CSV file actually has the metadata records that I want to update. Okay, so XML demo here, writing, metadata writing, data, and there's my CSV file. And like last time where it has the field names on the first, okay, and you can see some of the values there. Okay, so that's going to plop down another reader. Okay, and so here we go. And I'll expand that just so you can see the things we have. We have a few of them. Now what I'm going to do is I've read this entire table as one data set. So I'm going to plop down an XML templater. Okay, like this. And I'm going to, what am I going to do here? This is what I want to do here. Okay. I actually want to read the this one in like this. Okay, I actually don't want this one, so we're going to get rid of that. Okay, sorry about that, because I'm going to import that. Okay, so here's the XML templater, and my XML template in this case. Last time I typed this in. What I'm going to do now is I'm simply going to paste in my metadata document. So I'm going to say select all. And I'm going to copy, and I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to paste in my sample metadata document like that, okay? And so now what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to look at the attributes that I have, and I'm simply going to replace many of the values that are coming here. So I have organization, so let's find organization. There it is here. I can simply grab this and drop it in there, okay? And then replace this. So
Don, one way of looking at this is it's kind of like a mail merge, where you're basically merging in the FME features into the XML document, and those function calls basically are the dynamic content.
Yeah, and you can see where the XML templater gets its name, because what we're doing is there's a number of ways of creating these templates. We're going to cover another one in a minute, and then essentially then you just specify the substitutions that you're going to do graphically. So again, I don't have to understand XML here. The only thing I'm doing is I have my document, and I can read facsimile and things like that and just drop it in. So you know, other approaches, if I have to understand XSLT or XQuery and things like that, are much more complicated. Now I'm not going to do them all in the interest of time, but you can see I've done a number of them, and so now I'm going to say that's fine. Okay, we'll put it in XML out again. Okay. And,
in this case, we don't need a sub template, because we're just doing one record in. Maybe there's a record per data set, so we just need the roots.
Yeah. I'm not doing anything fancy. Just showing just a very simple XML templater example. Okay, so now we run this, and I better specify the destination output here. Okay, and we'll call it output, and we'll call it whatever today is, feb16.xml. Okay, we'll run that. Okay, I'll go over here, and metadata output, and there it is there. We'll open it, and there you go. You can see, you know, say software organization name, Joe Smith, the telephone and the fax numbers down there, and there you go. And many times when you're populating a metadata document, you're going to have a lot of you'll have a boilerplate document where much of it for your organization is going to stay the same. And so, you know, using this technique, you don't have to worry about that. You just specify the parts that are changing. Now, you might have bounding boxes you need to change. Maybe you have extents, things like that. And again, of course, FME can get all that from the features if of the data set if necessary. But as a quick overview, that's as simple as it is. Okay. So now back to, so that's XML. Okay. Slideshow from current slide. There we go. Okay. So the next topic is in FME 2011, we had the XML templater, and when people wanted to write XML, what we would say to them is, well, that's great. You just give us a sample, and we can show you how to do it. That's great if you actually have a sample, but what if you don't have a sample and you want to drive it by from just an XSD? So you have a schema document, but you don't have a sample, and that's what this next demo we're going to show is. We have an XSD document, and we're going to use that to drive the generation of the XML. Okay. So okay, back to the show here.
So Don, have you ever met an XSD you didn't like?
No, Dean. How about you? Well, yeah, I have. Some of them are pretty nasty, actually. I've met some pretty nasty XSDs. How about you?
Well, I think I really like this next one because before we were able to generate templates from XSDs, I actually, trying to read an XSD human readable and create a document that complies with it, that's a rather dark art
thing to do. Yeah, and I actually didn't think it was that tough. I remember I asked somebody, I said, "Oh, just send me the XSD document and I'll create you a sample." And then I got the XSD document, I'm like, "Oh boy, okay." So yeah, had to eat a bit of crow there. Yeah, and so, but software is good at doing that, and so that's what we've done. So we'll call this XSD generated.xml. Okay. And there we go. So we're going to generate that. And
just as a footnote, Don, while you're setting that up, this was one of the main reasons why I had XML Spy before, and now I don't need it anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if there are tools that you have to use, I'm just sort of to the audience here, if there are tools that you're using to help with your XML workspaces and you have to go outside of FME to do something, and it's something that you have to do more than once, let us know, and maybe there's some functionality we can embed in FME that to allow you to be able to stay within the Workbench environment.
Yeah. Okay, so I have my manhole table here, and so now I'm going to use our friendly XML templater again. Okay, we're going to put him in. But this time I don't actually have a sample. So so what am I going to do here? Well, it turns out in this case I'm only going to use the root port, but I need a sample. So what I'm going to do is in the XML templater now we've added a generate button. And so if I click on that, it asks me for the location of a schema. So I have an ADAC schema here, which is an Australian XML format. And if I click path to elements, if I leave it empty, it's going to start at the root and generate the whole thing. Okay, I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to specify a path. So I have a path here because, again, I just want to generate the manhole subdocument in this case. So I'm going to put that there. Okay.
So you'd have to know the XML well enough to know which element you're after.
Yeah, that's right. So there's still, but that probably will change in 2013. So I'm pretty confident on that. So again, what we've done is we've made it easier. But of course, as easy as you make something, there's always ways you can improve. So that's one of the things that we're really looking at is making it possible for folks to do everything without having to use other browsing tools for their XML. So I'm going to also say in this case, just to keep this short, I'm not going to generate optional attributes or elements, and but I am going to annotate the XML with comments, and I'm going to say OK. And so now what it's done is it's just generated me that template. Okay. So last time what I did is I had a sample, and I copied and pasted the sample into the XML templater. In this case, what I did is I used the XSD to generate it. And then, of course, once I have the sample generated, or the template, now it's exactly the same as I did before. And I'm not going to do them all. I'll just pick a few just so you can see how this works. Okay, so there we go.
And it even tells you what data type you need, whether it's
that's why exactly. That's why I leave those in there, because I found it very, very helpful to help tell me what the heck I'm supposed to put in there. So there we go, and I'll just do notes, and that'll be it at the top. You'll see it right away here. Okay, and it also tells you the valid value. So the comments actually give you a lot of good value actually when you're trying to populate these things. And of course, FME has validation tools, so you could use the information that's generated by this template to put down transformers beforehand to make sure that the values you were putting in there are valid and things like that. There's also the validator, which we haven't talked about. So And that's another. We have something called the XML validator. I'll put that down just on this one just so that you can all see it. And then I'll explain what that is. So that's good enough. I'm just going to do those for now. And then I say we'll go with everybody's favorite, XML out. So that I know where I'm putting it. Okay, and now the XML template is going to produce that document. Now we have something else called the XML validator.
And Don, are you going to validate against the syntax or against the schema?
I was going to go syntax only, but I was going to talk about it. But anyway, I'm just going to go syntax. This is not actually a full XML document, so we have to remember that, right? Mm-hmm. This is just the manhole subpiece. So anyway, so what this thing's really nice at is once you have your final document, you can go none, you can go syntax only, or syntax and schema. There's none too, and the reason we did that is you might have a workspace that has a validator in it, and once you put it in production, you don't want the validation to take place because obviously validation takes a bit of time. It's not free, and if your workspace is in a performance sensitive area, you don't have to change your workspace. You can just publish that as a parameter, and then at runtime, turn it on and turn it off. Okay, so that's that. Okay, and there we go. I'm not even going to use the validator. Well, I wonder if it'll even work because this is even an XML document, but it's a sub-document. But anyway, it's on XML out. Let's have a look and see. Whoops, pick the wrong attribute. It's not going to work. I can assure you that. Okay, and it has a failed port as well, so we'll connect the logger there, and then that would tell you, then you're going to get the feature since that didn't pass. And I got to remember to connect XML out there. Okay, maybe that here. Okay, like that, and then we're going to run it. And go to the output. It should be here. Okay. There it is, manhole.xml. I'll open this with Notepad++, and you'll see that there is the manhole document there, sanitation, council, existing, WV34, and all my other templates values are there. So there you go. So that is that's that. Okay. So where did I actually write it? I don't think that was the one.
So it doesn't look like you got any errors there because it just went through the past.
Okay, that wasn't the right file. XML data writing output. Okay, metadata. Oh, I just left it there. Okay, anyway, here we go. Okay, because the people who are watching what I'm doing will notice that output. There it is, XSD generated. That's the one I want. Okay, I'll open that with Notepad++. There you go, sanitation, council, existing. That's the one. So that's the one we just generated now, and you can see all the other values which we haven't filled in. So there you go. That is the generation of XML using the XSD. And so now back to our show here. First slide. Okay. So Dean's got a quick sample. He's going to go through showing, again, the XML templater, but this time it's used in an Inspire example. Okay. Want to take it away, Dean?
Yeah, sure.
And I will make you the presenter. Okay, Dean. Make Dean the presenter. Okay.
All right, so you can see my screen there, Don?
Yes, we can.
I'll just look at the source data first of all. So the goal here is, those of you who might be familiar with Inspire, it's a complex standard schema for European data, for sharing data across Europe, mandated by the EU. And what we want to do is start off with this shape data and take these gazetteer points. It's actually a UN data set. And this is very simple, a simple flat typical GIS file with place names, and we'll actually derive using the country. We'll use that to derive other information, like for example what language is spoken, and we'll want to combine all that data together to make something to write to the geographic name schema. And all you get from Inspire typically is the XSD files, maybe 1 or 2 sample records. So I'm not quite as brave as Don, so I'm not going to build this from scratch in the interest of time. But while it might look a little bit busy, it's not really that complicated. If you look at the bookmarks, and this will be all available to you later as the material for the webinar, you can see that in section 1, all I'm doing is assembling the data, so reading the 3 source tables and doing some spatial joins between them, and selecting a few countries just to limit the scope of the data. And over here under schema mapping, I have 2 different approaches to schema mapping. I won't get into schema mapper as a transformer, but that is quite useful if you have to do schema mapping for a whole bunch of feature types at once. Essentially, all I want to do here in the schema mapping is I'm trying to map onto the destination schema. So if I'm going to comply with the schema, we need to use field names similar to what is required, or I have to do things like derive language. So I need some of the fields I don't have. I'm using the spatial location. Where does that point fall? And then I assume that stuff in Croatia is Croatian, and I guess Austrians don't speak Austrian, they speak German, from what I've heard. So I'll spend most of the time now talking about how do we actually make GML that complies with the application schema. And so there's a bunch of things that you have to do. And if we had done the, if I had time to go through the template generation, some of those hints would show up if you generate it from the XSD. But from the top here, we can see that we need to generate some IDs. So there's some handy tools in FME to generate unique IDs. And then that's used as a feature ID. And I also concatenate point dot, I guess there's a namespace dot p to make a geometry ID, in this case a point ID, because both the geometries and the record has to have a unique ID. Then, and this is kind of a good footnote in terms of performance, I use an attribute keeper, and what that does is it drops all of the upstream stuff that I no longer need. I get rid of it, and I just keep the fields I'm going to use in the templater, and that will kind of reduce the memory footprint of each record. And the last step before I hit the templater is I extract my geometry coordinates. Now, there is also the geometry extractor where you can extract GML 321 geometry for more complex features, but in this case I just need the coordinates. So I get my XY values that way. And you can see instead of a creator, because I only need one root record, because the root record corresponds essentially to the data set, I use a sampler just to grab the first feature, but that could have also been a creator. So let's dive into the XML templater. I won't spend that much time on the GUI because you guys have seen it already. But just to explain, in this case, how the root and the feature type templates work together, you can see here, again, the root template is essentially the document or data set level template. So you have the XML file, the header, and the footer of the file. At the top, you can see we have all the namespace declarations that are required, and you would see this in any typical Inspire data set. And then there's also a bounds. If I wanted to be really correct, I could actually generate these bound coordinates using a bounds extractor in the workspace, but I just have it hard-coded for now. And then there's the end tag footer. So most of the content is actually pulled in using this process features function call, and what that does is it pulls in all of the records. So everything here just occurs once as a header and footer to the overall document. So,
right. So if I had 10 named places, I'm going to get that named place 10 times right in that list there.
Yeah, and actually you can see I've run this before. I'll run it again in a minute, but you can see there's one record coming into the root, and then 900 odd records going into the named place. And so what happens now is, like, and for every feature type that you might need in this data set, you might add a new sub-template.
Right.
And so here, this is describing the XML element associated with the named place feature type.
Yeah.
Okay, and so you can see right at the top, there's the beginning of the tag,
and then
the GML ID.
Get attributes throughout, replacing the
And you might wonder, well, why do I have these namespaces in here? Well, for this to be a valid XML document, because I'm using all of these prefixes within there, I have to repeat those, but later on we can compress that up, push that up to the top element. So that's all part of the formatting later on.
Okay, great. That's awesome, Dean. So you can show the output?
Yeah, we'll show you the output in a second. I just wanted to show here's where we pull in the coordinates and the actual text value. Okay, so let me jump out to the output. This is just the pretty printing, which you've seen before. And I do want to point out that we are validating against the geographic names XSD, so it's a syntax and schema validation.
Yeah, good.
So why don't I go ahead and run that?
Okay.
And if there is an error, it'll show up in the logger here. And it's working. It'll come past port.
Always seems faster when you're not online.
Okay.
That's my experience. There we go. That looks great.
Now we just up the containing folder, and you can see, for example, in an editor what that actually looks like. And then I'll pop up the data itself. So you can see that this is the repeating feature, named place. And I can page down, and you can see the place names change in the middle here. And I can pop open the data. I'll just highlight that we do have a new, we covered this. We do in rear, and you can actually choose to flatten things, which makes it easier to use in, let's say, for example, a GIS. So here's the output data in GML using our viewer. But of course, it could be any GML viewer. And you can see that the actual place names there's the language, and there's the
sounds good, Dean. I'm going to take this back from you now.
Okay.
Because we're running low on time. That always happens because we get so excited about what we're doing here. So so I'm going to make myself the presenter now. And there's again, well, what we did here is we put together more demos than we could possibly go through in detail. And but there's movies of all of these. So Dean's, again, this Inspire example. There's a movie on. We're going to tell you where that is so you can see it in more detail. Okay. So that's the Inspire demo from Dean. So that's great, just showing a real-world example. But it's exactly the same thing we've seen. You get the template, you substitute the values, and that's all there is to it. The rest of his workspace was all about preparing the data, getting it restructured so that it lended itself more easily to the XML template document, and that's really the power of FME. Okay, so we're not going to go through all of these, but just to give you sort of a list of all the different XML transformers that are out there, and there you go. And you'll know some of them are around XQuery and XSLT. And in an advanced course, we would talk about how to use those. We wouldn't give you a course on learning XQuery. That's there's lots of books and things on that. But if you do know that stuff and you want to use it, we make that available for you. Okay. So what about updating a document? So we're going to go through walk through a really quick example here. But often you may have a metadata document, for example, and you may want to just update some records. Maybe it's the person responsible has changed and you want to go through all your metadata documents and update something that simple. Maybe you have again, you have a sort of a typical metadata document and you just want to update it. So the XML updater is an entirely different way of producing XML documents. So it's it's actually quite a bit more powerful than even the XML templater, because you can add multiple childs in just different ways. So anyway, so here we go. Quick demo. I have a workspace here. Okay, not that one. This one here. And the XML templater, in this case, what I'm reading here is I'm reading a simple metadata document. Okay, again, it's the ISO one that we've seen before. And I have a CSV file, again, the CSV file with my metadata information in it. And so what I want to do in this case is I simply want to update the metadata document. So what I'm going to do, and I'll tell you why I like this approach. If imagine I have a whole library of metadata documents, and all I want to do is update particular fields, but leave the rest of the document unchanged. That's what the XML updater is for. Whereas the XML templater is for producing a brand new document. You sort of get a typical one, and then you go through and you template in the values to help you create a new one. But in this case, I don't actually want to create a new one. All I want to do is I want to update one or more fields. Now, to keep it simple, I'm just going to pick on one. In the movie, I go through a number of them, and then I simply specify the path name, and again, I specify the attribute that's going to go in there. If I open this document up in my IE here, you'll see that the one I want to update is this individual name, the responsible party, the individual name character string. So what I did is I simply specified that in my XML path. And so now wherever that is in the document, it's going to be replaced with the value of the attribute responsible name there. So if I run this, you'll see that what the XML updater is going to do is it's only going to touch that one field in the XML document. So if I open it again.
Don, this is used when both your input and your output is XML?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because all the XML updater does is take an XML document and then update it with the information. Now you can do other things. The XML updater, obviously, there's a whole course. We could do an hour on the XML updater because there's a number of update types. You can replace the contents. You can delete something, and then you can start to insert things as childs. You can rename. I mean, boy, oh boy. There's. I look forward to a future evangelist article, or maybe we'll do a webinar just on the XML updater, because you can do an awful lot with the XML updater. But I'm excited about this for, with metadata in particular, where you just need to update, particular fields within a metadata document. And again, the problem with the templater is, if you had a whole library of say you had 100 metadata documents you wanted to update, and if they're all drastically different, it just wouldn't be workable. Whereas the XML updater is totally the way to go in that case. Okay. So any comments, Dean?
No, that's awesome. So
okay. Yeah.
Obviously not just updating, but yeah, inserting, deleting.
Yeah, because you may. Yeah, exactly. So there we go. And that was the demo. Okay, you can tell we're rushing right along here. The last case was writing deeply nested XML documents. In FME 2011, this is what it looked like. And basically what you had is each of these boxes, these bookmarks here, there was a separate XML templater involved, because we didn't have that whole notion of sub-templates. In FME 2012, the example looks like this, and I have it here. We don't have time to go through it, but I'm going to bring it up. And okay, it's right here.
And Don,
you can see. Yeah, go ahead.
A deeply nested thing, but those could also be considered different feature types. Would be another way of looking at it. Exactly. So exactly, because you can see I have a database here with these 8 different tables, and I put them all together. The outer table is called Lady. Okay, so there you go. There's Lady, and as we know, she swallowed a horse. So there's a horse. And then if we look at horse, we'll see that the horse swallowed a cow. I don't know how she swallowed a cow. Okay, and there she is. And then she swallowed a cow to catch the dog. What a hog, she swallowed a dog. There you go. And on and on and on down to bird. There was no lady who swallowed a bird. Okay, there. I'm sorry, Don. I'm not going to be able to help you with the singing because
she catch a fly. That's okay, Dean. And then last, I don't know why she swallowed a fly. I think she'll die. Now what I'm going to do next is, this demo is not complete, so you haven't heard the last of this. I'm going to have tables with a whole bunch of ladies, a whole bunch of flies, spiders, birds, cats, dogs, cows, and horses, and then show how you can interrelate them so that for each lady you would get the proper nesting. Because that's one thing we haven't touched on, and the XML templater does have that ability that when you're where you can actually chain things together based on keys and subkeys and things like that. But again, that's we could do an hour again on how to use the XML.
Isn't there a group by there, Don? That has something to do with it as well, eh?
Yeah, that plays part of it, but that's not all of it. Because imagine that the spider knew which bird ate it. So then you could you could start to make sure that only those spiders are in those birds, if you catch my drift, and because you wouldn't want the old lady to choke on the wrong horse.
Okay. So you get a whole ecosystem going on there.
Yeah, that's right. So that's ultimately where this demo is going to go. But you can see the improvement from 2011 to 2012. It's huge. Now it's actually readable. You can tell looking at it what exactly is going on here. So that's and of course online there will be a demo. By the time we put this slide deck up, I'll have the whole demo of this deeply nested one ready to go. Okay. And back to a poll question. And the poll question is: do you currently use FME for writing XML? Okay, so he's launching the poll, and no is winning by a landslide. So that's good news. Certainly, if if you want to use FME, contact us if you're having trouble getting going, because with FME 2012, the task is much easier than it's ever been before. And why do I say that's good news? Because it's good opportunities to get the 70% of you who don't use it to learn more about it and get going. So there we go. We'll let this
Don, it's no longer it's no longer so hard as say close.
Yeah, exactly. It's now easy. Okay, so we're going to show that poll. Okay.
And certainly, if you do have trouble creating a template or something, I mean, that's you can let us know in support if you get stuck.
Yeah.
And
we'll we had a request for me to do some singing, and what I'll do is I'll sing in the movie for people, so then it's a permanent record, and then I'll probably never be asked to sing again. Okay. So thanks for that request out there. How to find more information. If you go on FMEpedia, that's a great place. You're going to find XML samples, workspaces, demos, and things like that. If you go on the XML page, you're going to find the I Love XML logo for all of us folks who love XML. And there's just tons of stuff out there that we have on XML. And when you ask questions, often that may end up becoming a knowledge-based article. Obviously, we wouldn't share any of the particular question details other than what's relevant from a technical standpoint. But if you have questions, please do send them in. We pride ourselves in not just the product, but also our support. Okay. There's also a YouTube channel. So if you go youtube.com/FME Channel, you'll find all the demos there. And if you click on XML, there's a playlist. So if you click on videos, you'll see the playlist. Then you'll find all the XML videos we've made already. So and there's a URL there that you can click on. FME.ly/XML video will take you directly to the XML playlist for all the different XML videos that are up there. And more webinars are coming up. We have the third part, which is right now slated for June 7th, and it's all more about metadata. And so we look forward to seeing you then. And there's another link here for one on XML and SIM. That was an XML webinar we did way back with FME 2011. I think it was in October we did that. And again, if you have any challenges with XML, we're happy to get your data and let us know what you want to do. We have a number of people who have submitted them, and we're continuing to work through those and get back to you. And again, this is helpful in two ways. One, we may be able to save you a lot of time by simply showing you how to do it. And the second benefit is that if it's still harder than we think it should be, that's great feedback for us to improve our product and help us develop scenarios that are real scenarios that users care about. That's how we've made many of the improvements that we did today. The big one that comes to mind is the XML templater generating samples from XSD documents. Okay, and Webinar Trilogy, there you go. June 7th, I think, is the next date, and it's all going to be on working with metadata, so you'll obviously see more about the XML updater coming and things like that. And the future, we're continuing to work on usability, of course, making it easier to use, performance, more support for native XML formats, and again, your suggestions on what we should be working on to make the product better to help you solve your XML challenges is greatly appreciated. Okay, so one more poll, two more polls here quickly. Poll number 5, as you plan FME 2013, which new capability would you find most valuable? Okay, and the choices are extend arbitrary writing to also generate XSD documents, improve XSD-based generation to support paths, improve performance, and 0 is other. If you select other, we will contact you for the details on other things that you would like. Okay. Okay, extend arbitrary writing to also generate XSD documents is a big one, along with improved performance. And you'll be pleased to know that when FME 2012 SP1 comes out, it's significantly faster than FME 2012. So we're always looking for ways to make it faster. So we'll close this poll now, and we'll share the results. And the only thing we have left now is the draw for free training. Okay, so we have 40 free seats up for grabs. It's May 23rd, 8:30 to 12 Pacific Daylight Time. Okay, and if you'd like to enter, we're going to launch that poll now. Okay, and there's yes, please, and no thanks. Okay, and there we go. Vast majority would like that, so that's great. So we'll let that run for another few seconds here. Okay, and yeah, get your votes in, get them in often. Okay.
Don, how long is that course? Is it like a half day or?
Half-day course, that's right, yeah. That's right. So, okay, so there we go, we'll close that poll. And thank you very much for taking part in all the polls, and we'll share it, yeah. And there we go. You can see, there we go. So, okay, so now we will hide the results on that one. And other things coming up, of course, the World Tour. Check that out. I'm sure we're coming to a city near you. Here in North America and with our partners around the world, there's the FME 2012 World Tour. That's a one-day event. Our latest newsletter talks about FME 2012 as well. And, of course, if you want to get FME 2012 and give it a try, go to safe.com/downloads. And last but not least, go ahead.
I was going to say that's one way to see a live performance of FME XML.
That's right. That's right. And it's always the highlight of the day, really.
Yeah.
And people, we generally do it right after lunch because we don't want people to fall asleep. So there you go. And yeah, and thank you. We ran about 3 minutes overtime. We apologize for that. We always try to get as much in as we possibly can to give you an overview. And remember, the main thing is that all these examples are online with movies, so you can watch them again at a more relaxed pace. And we appreciate you for your time. Please do send us email if you have any questions, or we also have support at safe.com, but we're always happy to get email from our customers and our partners. So, and there's our Twitter accounts as well, if you want to follow us. And yeah, so thank you very much, and thanks Juan and Joel for standing by and cringing while we demoed your great technology. And thanks, Dean.
Yeah, thanks, Don. That was a lot of fun.
And, okay, thank you, and we'll be signing off.